Hi there and welcome. These are your handover videos for your Bailey Pegasus Bologna. These are a basic walkthrough on how to set up and operate the van as if you were coming on our off-site. Got this black hitch head at the front with silver lever, which you have to have pulled up like so, to then be able to wind down the jockey wheel onto the tow ball. Once it's on, that handle will snap down, push up that red button and expose a green ring. You have a breakaway cable just here. Legality states if you have an eye point, it has to be used. If not, wrap it around the tow bar. You also have 13-pin electric, so if you do have 7-pin adaptation, make sure to bring yourself an adapter. Handbrake just here. It's currently engaged. To disengage, you just have to press down. They can come up with a fair bit of force, so make sure your face isn't in the way. And then on the side, we have the jockey wheel here, which you have to have up whilst travelling. Inside this locker here, you have your gas point. So I'm using a test bottle here with an in-date gas hose connected onto this regulator. You hand tighten that as much as you physically can and then just dip it up using a spanner. You don't want it ridiculously tight as there is an O-ring inside which can cause pressure onto it, leading it to crack and break. However, once both sides are firmly connected, twist the gas bottle in the positive or open direction. Then here we have your battery locker. So we have an example leisure battery inside this one. To connect the terminals on the top, you either need a 12 or 13mm spanner. At the back here, you can see you have an isolation point for your motor mover, and then you have your plug-in for your mains just here. Moving along this side, we have first your flue just here, which you have to take off to be able to operate. It is for getting clean air in and out when operating your boiler on gas. Then here I have a Acro full of clean drinking water and the water pump just here. The water pump sits in here and then you have this cap in place to lock it. You then have this plastic cap to go over the top of the Acro, and then at the bottom we have your strainer. Now it's crucial that the strainer itself sits at the bottom of the barrel to allow the maximum potential of water to come through. You've got 2 points here, which is where your wastewater will come out of. You'll need some 28.5mm waste pipe to feed into a waste master that you can empty out at the appropriate point on site. Then here we have your toilet operations. On the top we have your flush tank. This has the capacity to hold around 12 litres of water. However, I wouldn't recommend putting in any more than 10 as you don't want to overfill the compartment. You can also add some pink chemical which works as a bleach without being corrosive and makes it smell a bit nicer. That also locks up using your keys just here. Now your keys themselves, they are a one key does all sort of situation. Then at the bottom we have your cassette toilet. To remove this, press up on the orange handle and pull out like so. Now that handle will extend out like so, similar to a carry-on suitcase. It's a bit of a pain to get back in with one hand, so it collapses like so. Then you want to twist this head to the side, open up that compartment, tilt, and at the same time as tilting, continually pressing your vent button. You can then open up this compartment here to feed in fresh water, give it a bit of a shake, and again tilt and vent, just so it smells a bit nicer. And then on this cap here, you have measurements in both imperial and metric, and that is for your blue chemical. Blue chemical goes into here, back onto there, and then push this in, so the orange handle, sits behind those white teeth. Now you don't want to travel with either of these two full, so just up here, got a little bung to drain off any remaining water from the system. The caravan itself will be fully drained off before you leave with it. Underneath your right hand side seat, you have your boiler just here. You also have your flow jet, which will pull through the actual water itself, and then you have your yellow drain valve. Facing in the position that it is now, that is allowing the flow of water to come through. When you collect the caravan, that will be in the upright position, which is the drain mode. Have that up permanently unless you're actively using the caravan, and especially around November to March, because it can freeze over the pipes and cause it to burst. You have this bit of ducting here, which is used to help the actual operations of the flow jet. It isn't just an oddly bit placed, it is actually operational for that unit. Then underneath your left hand side seat, you have all of your trips and fuses, all your trips in the upright position, and all your fuses in the correct position. I'd always recommend carrying some extra fuses across the caravan. Then here we have the main control panel. So you have interior lights on and off, and then you just have to use your representative light switches across the caravan. You have awning light, press that in, and then you can go to the outside. You can see it's on. It's a little bit awkward to see with the sun beating down, but you can see that they're operating and on. You then have your master on and off switch, and that also shows you the amount of power that is coming into the caravan. You then have your pump button here, so you'd have your drain valve in the correct position. You'd come over to your sink, and what you want to do is open up on both hot and cold and let it run for about 30 seconds. What you're after is a nice continuous stream. If there's any coughs and splutters, it may be a case that the system is overly pressurized, so you have to just go through it. But do just double check that you have plenty of water in the system, your drain valve's in the correct position, and that the pump is situated at the bottom of the barrel. This is what it looks like with a nice steady stream. So this is the sort of thing you're looking for here, nice steady continuous stream. Now whenever the water is left out, it will have to be replaced from the actual ack roll outside to the boiler, but it will pull that through automatically because it has a sensor pretty much that's built in to tell you that it's not full. But as you can see, nice steady continuous stream. Then here we have your water heat operation, so you can either have it on operating on gas through this part for 50 or 70 degrees when it's facing the middle. That means it's not heating it. However, when you flick it down either way, you'll hear it click in. You then have a 230 volt water heater, which you have to have pressed in just here, and then you come down to the bottom and you can either choose 2 or 3. Now that is the same as the 50 or 70, it is just situated on a different point. So in short, that is only for the operation of gas, and then for the 230 volt you have to have that switched on and this on either way on the bottom. Then here we have your 230 volt room heater, which you switch on pressing it down there, and then you have the amount of power that you'd like to come in. So you can either have it off 500, 1000 or 2000 kilowatts. So let's say I wanted 2000, switch it up. You can see the green light is on, and then you have the numbers on the dial 1 to 9. 9 being the highest, so it is going to be the hottest when it comes to it. So turn that off for now. Let's put that back to central. And then we have the gas operation itself, which is all through this actual radiator. So what you need to do for this is you need to spin this dial over to whatever mark, 10 being the highest. You'll hear it click in, and then you just need to essentially push in like so. And what will happen is that will then engage on and turn it on. You then have your dial just here. Now this is for the speed of the fan itself. So 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and then you have a setting on the bottom for either automatic or manual. When this is on and operating, there'll be a little light inside the skylight, which I'll show you in a second, just so that you can double check that it's on. So as you can see there, all nice and lit. So we've lit it on 10, then we have the fan speed. So I'll switch it over to manual, and you can hear the difference in the speed. So that's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and that's 5. And then switch it to auto, and that will make it so it's automatically heating it itself. Switch this back over to 0 when you don't want it on, and then you'll see inside that there's no more flame on. So again, electric heating, strictly gas heating. Then here we have your hob, grill and oven operation. So all of this operates on gas. Pressing your dial, twist it to the side, then you want to press in on your igniter. Now it may be a case it takes a while for the flame to ignite, or it may ignite and then cut off. That is natural, that is gas making its way through its system. This is what it looks like when they're all lit. As you can see, all nice and lit. And then turn it off back to the central position. And it's the same concept for your grill. As you can see there, grill all nice and lit. And then finally, your oven operation. So press in, twist to the side, and you can see that ignite. Make sure that the actual tray isn't impeding on the igniter, just because it can not operate because it's not getting enough oxygen. Then you have to travel with this glass sheet down, but don't put it down until all of these are cold to the touch. And if you're traveling with a gas bottle, make sure that the bottle itself is turned off. Then here we have your fridge operation. So open it up, fridge is currently off. Then let's switch it to mains. Mains is now on, and you can see lights inside are on. You then have this gauge on the side. The thicker the bar, the more power coming in. And you have a couple of choices. So you either have mains, that battery symbol, which is representative of 13-pin electric whilst towing, and then you have gas at the bottom. Now gas is a little different. So what you have to do, you have to have that down to the bottom, come over to here, press in on this, and in on this igniter button at the same time. And what you want is for this orange bar to float over to the green. Now it may take around about 30 seconds to do it, and you do have to continually keep it in. But this is what it looks like when it's floated over. As you can see here, this is now floated over. Occasionally you might have to just give that a little bit of a wiggle. But as you can see, when I drop it now to mains, it instantly drops out. Then when you're facing to the upright position, it's completely off, so there's no more lights inside. And here we have your toilet cassette. Lift this up, press in the button, and you can hear that whir. That is what will push through any water in the system. Then to remove your waste, press away on this handle, opens up the catch, pull it back towards you to be able to shut it up. When the cassette is full, there'll be a red light on there telling you to empty. Then you also have 2 points at the back and 2 points at the side to put down your legs. The Caravan comes with a leg winder, or alternatively you can get yourself a 19mm drill bit and a power drill just to make it a bit quicker. Do not attempt to jack up or level the Caravan using your legs, simply use for stabilisation.